Good morning, Lee Elementary. Birthday today, 60 years of service to this community. I can only think of all the children that have been prepared here and the great potential and promise that they have. Lee has always been one of my very favorite schools. I think of the great teachers and the great administrators and the parents working as partners that have helped the school be so enormously successful. Lee's always been at the forefront of educational change, and the staff at this school has provided enormous leadership. I think of the focus on reading, the Paw Power, the bookmobile, and in recent years the family literacy piece that started here has now spread across 11 schools in the district. And then all the Marshallese nights that have been put together to connect our parents, our families to this school. Lee Elementary, you have been the model of excellence forever, and with the great tradition that you've established, I know that our best work is in front of us. Happy birthday, Lee.
Lee is the oldest elementary school in Springdale School District, established in 1952 and is still roaring. During its 60 years of existence, Lee has seen its share of changes.
Well, they've really taken good care of it. It looks like there's a lot more students. The library is much bigger and much better. And I think, don't you have a gymnasium?
They added on, and I guess really redid, but the library, media center where you have the computer labs on there now.
None of the classrooms had carpet in them. And I was the very first one to ever put carpet in my classroom. And you know how we did that? We sold popcorn. And my moms would come in once a month and pop popcorn, and we'd sell it to the entire school. And that's how we bought carpet for our classroom.
During my sixth grade, first part of the sixth grade, they were building on. And so all the sixth grade classes had to be bused from here to what is now the administration building, which is the historic high school. And so we had to go back and forth every day, over there. And so that was pretty cool, getting on the bus every morning and riding over there.
The most memorable thing that in those 3 years that I was at Lee, we added the playground equipment that you all have outside the back hallway. We had a project that we came up on Saturdays and worked with parents and installed new playground equipment, which Lee hadn't had for many years before.
The changes have not only happened to the building, but also its curriculum.
It was school. Activities, classes, kindergarten through 5th grade, PE, music, library, GT, art, all those activities, computer lab, they were all here then.
Students, and it's much more rigorous, probably, curriculum. But I would say that I still got a very quality education in Springdale. I think I was allowed, like I talked about, I referred to the castle project that we did in Miss Parker's social studies class. So even back then, we had things that would apply to Common Core today.
One of the activities that I did was several economics projects with my class through the years. And the very first one I remember doing was printing t-shirts. And we took orders and printed paw prints up the front of the shirt and down the back, and sold those shirts for $5 a piece. And with the profit we purchased a piece of playground equipment. But the best project I remember doing was called Utter Economics. And a lot of the students that were in this class with me are still in Springdale. And we learned about the dairy industry. We went over to Lincoln, to the dairy farm. We made a quilt, a Kool-Aid quilt, by dipping the Kool-Aid in the blocks in Kool-Aid and to dye them, and then the children drew pictures on them. I still have that quilt hanging in my house today. We made butter and yogurt. They learned all about being consumers and producers and scarcity, and we just had a great time with that entire project.
I taught higher order thinking skills program in Title I, which was a wonderful program. It's where children that were gifted and talented and the Title I kids came to my class. and I could have, about 10 kids at a time. And we learned how to do things using the computer. And it had to do with developing thinking skills. I taught, while I was in the Title I program, I taught with Mrs. Lewis a program for the economics, and she and I won recognition at the state level by teaching children how to save money and use the bank and so forth.
One thing is that we spent almost our entire day with our students. We ate lunch with them. We were outside at recess times with them. There were no planning times. And we really became very close with our students because the entire day was devoted to our class.
It was one year, if kids read so many hundreds of books, the principal would sing to them from the roof. And Peggy Hill was our principal at that time, and she did sing from the roof of the building because children had read so many books.
There was music all around. We had, in 5th and 6th grade, we had orchestra, and then we had just regular music classes, and we went into the cafeteria for those.
Music class, I can remember we learned all the patriotic songs, memorized them, what the words meant, and we learned folk songs too. I can remember we would march around the room 2 by 2 singing We Are Marching to Pretoria. It doesn't sound like a big deal now, but we only had 3 channels back then and no video games, and Pong was still a few years off. So back then, marching around the room singing was high entertainment.
We had music classes, but PE was simply recess.
And I don't remember any organized PE. I know we always ran out in the playground and played in the canes. They still have the canes back there? Those cane poles back there? No, that was a lot of fun. You got in trouble if you were in there though, but it was a neat place to go. You thought you were like on a Pacific Island or something out there. You could imagine all sorts of things when you're out there until you got caught.
I do think it was important for Lee where we are because we could take field trips that the other schools couldn't take. They had to rent buses. We could walk to the fire station, we could walk to the arts center, we could walk to the museum.
We started the Toyota Family Literacy Program and started having the Hispanic parents come in and learn English and also learn how to work with their children in the room. And then from that, we started the Marshallese Family Literacy Nights. And those were probably 2 of my favorite things because it was time not just with the kids but with their families as well.
Extracurricular activities have always been a part of Lee Elementary.
We played softball and kickball and games out in the playground. We did have Cub Scouts here. I remember that. We had Cub Scouts in the cafeteria.
We had each month a different grade level put on a different play, so we had plays that we would go to once a month.
At Lee Elementary, there's always special performances. We had Lions Pride every month. We had a recognition for Peggy Hill, who was the principal that I preceded, and so we always had special recognitions going on at Lee during that time.
You know, one thing I miss seeing are the Stompers and the Hula Girls. They would do their performances at Lions Pride sometimes.
Oh yeah, we had assemblies. Every month we had what was called Lions Pride, and we recognized the students that had been good students for the month and different things like that.
Over the years, the clubs developed out of student interest or staff that wanted to do it. Miss Self was always good about starting clubs, doing the Stomp team and other clubs. We started the OM my last year at Lee was our winning year, but then 2 years prior to that. So I guess this is the 4th year Lee's had an OM team.
The clubs that we had at Lee at that time were more like breakfast clubs where kids came and did tutoring and reading clubs that were going on. There were no K kids. I can't think of any other specific kind of clubs that we had at that time.
The 80s, we had what was called a disaster day, and Miss Powers was the teacher that was a volunteer fireman also, and she organized it for us, and everybody in the school pretended like a disaster had hit, and there were students that had tags on their around their neck saying that they were dead or that they were hiding from the fire, and the firemen actually came and treated it like it was a real disaster.
The Little Olympics in 6th grade.
That was fun.
It was always fun.
Is it that I think that allowed some of us who weren't athletic stars to feel like we were stars.
Staying true to its roots, the Lee Lions are looking towards a bright and loud future.
My message to current and future Lee Lions is to always focus on doing your best. Lee Elementary School has a great history in Springdale, and so it's their job when they come in and become a Lee Lion to continue that tradition of educational excellence, but also of excellence in character.
You know, school is such a great opportunity, even starting now, to learn so much and to have so many different subjects that you will have knowledge about that you can share with other people, that you can use at other times. It's just a great and wonderful opportunity, and you've got to know to take advantage of those things.
As we always did, we want them to do their very best, not trying to match up to what someone else did or what their brothers or sisters did, but do the very best that each of you all can do. There have been some great students come through these doors, and as I think back on it, some kids who've really gone on to some great success. And Lee's been the launching pad for them, and so I just look for y'all to do the very best for each of you that you can do to grow up. And I always ask the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And whatever that is, you can set your goals and do that.
I am proud of the Lee Lions and the fact that they're still going strong, and the student body is so good, and congratulations on 60 years of Lee School.
Happy 60th birthday, Lee Elementary.
Lee has left an impressionable mark and will continue to do so for the next 60 years.